Hi, everyone. I'm AJ Park, and I am super excited to be here today. I have a wonderful author to introduce you to. This is Heidi Skarie here with me, and she has a really unique mixture of genres, and I am really excited to learn more about her work. So thanks for being with me today, Heidi.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
I've been excited a long time to ask you more about your work, so sorry, I think I just interrupted you, but okay, so you have done several different genres. Like you've written some great sci-fi novels, and we're excited to ask about that. But then also some historical fiction. So where do you want to start? What would you like to tell us about first?
Um, well, my first published book was the Native American story called Willows Quest, and actually, I'm just bringing this out with a new cover I have. This is actually a proof copy.
It
So that
looks great, doesn't
uh,
it? Are you
yeah,
excited for the new cover and everything?
yeah. So that's kind of breathing some new life into that, and that is. Um, More historical fiction about that takes place in the Rocky Mountains with the Shoshone Indian. But I think your group is probably more interested in the sci-fi series because you're I call them sci-fi with a touch of fantasy because there are a lot of fantasy elements in it, like sorcerers and some magic and mythical creatures and traveling in other worlds. So
That sounds great. I'm really excited to read it. I haven't had a chance yet, but I'd like to. Now, are there three books in the series? Is that, or are there
yeah.
more?
So I have, in fact, today is the 15th is the launch day of the third book in the series. And
Today? Woohoo!
yeah, and this is the cover of the book that's coming out today, Star Rider and Bonds of Love, and the first one is Star Riders on the Razor's Edge. And I have four more in the series that I hope to bring out. That goes into kind of the next generation. So
So it's supposed to be so seven books altogether.
yes, uh-huh.
That is awesome. And we were talking a little earlier, and you were telling me that you had a really unique beginning for this story. So I'd love you to share that with everybody.
Yeah, at the time I'm a mother with three fairly young children, and I was more of an artist, a fine artist, and rather than a writer. And I had this dream one night, and it was like watching an action-packed sci-fi movie, something like Star Wars. And when I woke up in the morning, I wrote it down. And it happened to be a 3-day weekend because it was Christmas and Christmas fell right at the weekend. And so my husband could watch the three kids. So I had time to write it down. Well, the next day, the dream picked up right where it left off. And the next day, it did the same thing. So then my husband left for work for 4 days and I didn't dream anymore. But the next weekend was New Year's Eve and it was another 3-day weekend. And the same thing happened where the story picked up each night where it left off. And so on which was actually the sixth day, I had a 90-page dream journal from this dream
I
experience.
love it.
But
How do you schedule something like that? I'd like to, because when I dream, it's just crazy stuff. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm nuts. So I've never had anything coherent with like a plot and setting and scenery. And so how do you think that happened?
oh, how did that happen? I think it was a gift. You know?
Well, I'm excited to read it. So do the books really reflect what you dreamed?
Yeah, that basic plot line, that 90-page journal, I had to, of course, flesh out the story, give the characters names, because, it's like watching something that's very action packed where you don't really necessarily know everything. And taking like if you were to take a 2-hour movie and to try to put it into a novel, it does take 1,000 words to describe a scene. It's like,
It does,
you
definitely.
know,
Like if you cover everything that's in the movie, then your book is way longer. Than
yeah, so the book itself is more like, a 400-page novel,
Mhm.
But so there, but it was, that gave me the inspiration. And after the first book, the other books I didn't dream. They just came to me. It just sort of flowed through more story ideas. So I continued writing about the same characters and their ongoing adventures. And
That
uh,
is amazing. I love that story. I just wanted to make sure we talked about that because I'm like, that's never, nothing like that has ever happened to me. I just, have a moment, a core idea that I come up with, and then it takes a long time to really flesh it out. So I love that story. Do you have a favorite character or favorite characters that you want to tell us more about?
yeah, well, the main character is Star Rider, which is kind of her code name. She's a undercover operative, as
Okay.
as well as being there. Basically, it's a time where this powerful sorcerer is trying to take over the galaxy, conquering all the free worlds. And so they've formed this coalition, and they're fighting to help the different planets that are attacked by this powerful sorcerer. And Tomika's backstory is that her family and her village was destroyed and her family was killed. And so she joined the coalition. And in this story, they're trying to overthrow the dictator that's been put in place by Condor, Samrat Condor, the head honcho, so to speak. And so I write about very heroic, strong women, but the Michio becomes the hero, one of the heroes, but she also has a partner, Erling. So I have strong men in my books too, and the three of them working together with the undercover. So you have the coalition members, and then you have the local resistance that they've come there to work with, and they're all working together to try to overthrow the government and restore the the princess to power.
It sounds great. I'm excited to read it. So you have it is kind of sci-fi as in that it takes place in space and that they go to different planets and so on. But it sounds like you have a really strong element of mysticism and magic and sorcery in it. So in that way, it fits a lot with our readers that love fantasy.
Yeah, I think there's a very fine line. I mean, if you get right down to it, probably it's impossible to travel through space, certainly with space jumps. So where does, imagination and fantasy and begin and end? I certainly don't write hard science, but yeah, I think and it also has a strong love story element to it. And not just love, but also, deep friendships between the Conrad that are working together, and a touch of even spirituality, the going for higher ideals. And so the characters are really fighting. It's really the fight for freedom, but
I
and
love that.
that freedom is religious freedom,
Mhm.
to believe what you want. And part of these people have unique abilities. Like they can communicate with thoughts. Some of the characters, they can travel into the inner worlds, and even some of the battles with the sorcerer are done on another level in another world. So there's sort of that ability to move in and out of another world. So
It still sounds really cool. I'm definitely going to have to get all of them and read them because it sounds amazing. Um, so I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of characters that succeed over incredible odds and that do the right thing. And I don't know about you, but I love a satisfying ending in a book.
yes, yeah, even though mine is a series, I try to make sure that each book ends with a hint that more is going to come, but I don't like to leave people without any closure, that
Hmm.
what they're doing has ended, but now it's going to pick up with what their next adventure is, so to speak. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. And that's
Yeah.
a great way to connect it. If you can successfully, feel like you enjoy the book that you read, but still want to read more, but not not be so distraught that you don't have the next book right in your hands. I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess that's what you're supposed to do in a series, but I've kind of tended towards writing standalone stuff because when you get to the end of the book, it's the end of the book. And I do like that. I like closure and I like satisfaction in the ending, even if I'm going to go along and tell something else later.
Yeah. Yeah. I like, so they all have that they all have an ending, but then you know that the characters are still involved with this interplanetary war and it's not over and they're still going to have different challenges to
You've
face.
probably got tons and tons of material, like the interplanetary war. That you could write a lot of material
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I ended up having, I'll actually show you, I have a, what I call my Bible, my all of my index of all the characters, alphabetized, all the names you need.
Wow.
You got to make up all your characters' names, all the planets, what they eat, their food, it gets to be the family, the higher, like the parents, their kids,
So everybody's genealogy and
You
all
get-
like their personal statistics. Did that guy have blue eyes or brown eyes? Or
yeah. Oh,
because
I
you got
know.
to remember those details from book to book and from scene to scene. So that's great. So
Yeah.
you've done a lot of great world building with this, haven't you?
Yeah, and do they have white skin or green skin?
Oh, nice. So you've got people from different, well, you've
Aliens.
got whole different
Yeah,
planets, not just different, places. So I hope you made some interesting people from other planets.
yeah, and interesting. Like in the first book, some of the plants turn out to be carnivorous. So you got to watch yourself.
I love it. I love it.
Wow.
That's a great detail. Not that I want to get eaten by a carnivorous plant. What a way to go. But so I am really excited to kind of dive more into this world that you've created. So we will be doing some spotlights on the books that you've done so far, and with this interview, you'll have some information of where we can find them and what material you have available, and how everyone can connect with you. So we'll make sure everyone who's watching this, we'll make sure you get all the information so you can connect with Heidi, so you can find out about the carnivorous plants and the green people and the mystical traveling to fight the sorcerer too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to have these stories and have the ability to share them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. We're going to have a lot of people that I'm sure excited to read what you've written and to learn more about what you do. And thanks for taking the time to share today.
Well, thank you, Anne, for having me on and doing this event. It should be really a fun event.
Absolutely. Have a good day, everyone.